Hey, folks, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. We got a great show for you. President Trump is reacting to the communist takeover of New York City. Of course, we've already known that that's the case for a very long time. And, still people are using the word socialist. So it's a socialist takeover. It's like, no, it's communistic. And really, it shouldn't be that surprising. Or you think people would be more comfortable with it because, there's, I think, plenty of communists still remaining in our own government today anyway, from the decades of multiple administrations that actually don't like the American people. But we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about it. What does it mean moving forward? Because there's some people that are very upset about this. Some people are even, saying that Jewish individuals, Jewish voters need to flee New York because that's how bad it is now. We'll cover that. Also, more updates on President Trump and the SAVE Act. He's now refusing to sign the Housing Act. That would apparently do a lot of really great things, according to some. But you got to wonder if Congress has also put something in there for themselves. I would imagine so. He says, no, I'm not going to sign this unless you pass the SAVE Act. So there's still this tension there. And this happened right before President Trump was scheduled to walk into a luncheon with the Senate Republican caucus. Earlier today, we have some of President Trump's reactions. Also, more on Bill Pulte and him as acting director of the National Intelligence. He is firing people. And depending on who you talk to, some people are like, oh, he's firing the right people. He's firing the wrong people. I think he's probably firing the right people, and in some cases he's sending these ABC alphabet soup bureaucracy liaisons back to their homes. So we're going to talk about that all and much, much more. This is the Paul Harrell Program. Eric Haynes is in seat number 3. It starts right now.
The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, broadcasting from the state of Arkansas. Can't do the show without you watching every single day. Broadcasting here on LFA TV, also the Paul Harrell Program YouTube channel. If you're watching on the LFA TV Rumble channel, we want to make sure that you like the show, subscribe, do all the things. If you're watching on the Paul Harrell Program YouTube, please go ahead and give us a follow, subscribe, smash that subscribe button, as the kids say, and click the little bell to receive notifications. We would very much appreciate it. Eric Haynes back in studio. Eric, how you doing?
Great to be part of the conversation today, Paul. Glad I'm not in New York today.
Yeah, right? Now, I've written New York. I think one of the first things when you first came on the show, when you started coming on regularly here on the show, I think one of the first topics that you were really harping on was this Mamdani situation. Right, and I was always kind of like, I know it's in the news. I know he's a bad guy. I know he's not a good guy. I still can't get over how he removed the furniture from the New York mayor's office and everybody sat on the ground. Like, can you get more anti-Western civilization than, hey, we really think well-built furniture is good and we like a nice, comfortable place to sit? So I knew it was bad, but I've written New York City off for so long now. Like, okay, we all know what's going to happen in New York City. We all know this is not going to be a utopia. It's going to be the opposite of one, and it's going to get really, really bad before it even has a chance to get better. And it may never get better because of the immigration demographics. You are right, 100% to focus on it. I just am I'm still kind of over it, but it's in the news today, and we need to talk about it.
Well, again, it just reinforces the power of persuasion and charisma and how that can really just kind of warp and mess up the minds of people, and to getting them to do what or vote for who says they're going to give them everything for free and all kinds of completely irrational things. I mean, these are crazy people. I mean, they really are. So for me, it's like, now take it a step further. Which of them will be going to the U.S. House and acting like complete idiots? Will they join the squad? How big will the squad get? It's just Democrats, regular Democrats, have to be just freaking out right now. And I saw some funny stuff today, how they sent flowers to Hakeem Jeffries and put flowers on his door to his office in Congress. The Republicans did, because it's literally like their heartfelt sympathy for what is happening to the Democratic Party. Not that they were great, but man, this is just craziness.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those situations. I mean,
These people are crazy.
Well,
abolish ICE and
Yeah.
open no border at all and free Palestine and just everything crazy that they could possibly say. They say it. So then you get senators on microphones responding to this stuff, and they're just like, I don't even recognize these people. These people are crazy. Fetterman today said live on air, he's like, these people are crazy.
Wow.
And I'm scared of what they're going to do when they get to Congress and how they're going to start acting out, making a fool of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Well, like they're not, like, to your point, they're communists. They're not Democrats. They may have attached the Democrat name to the Democratic Socialists of America. So, send in your money to the DSA, but they're not Democrats, Paul.
Well, I mean, I am admittedly in a bubble.
Okay.
Aside from Fetterman, I don't know a moderate Democrat. I don't know their names.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've not done some in-depth study on these Democrats. I just genuinely generally say, hey, you guys are crazy. And now they're getting even more crazy for the incumbents not being crazy enough. Mm-hmm. So I get it. I mean, but the fact that, we should have seen this coming. You've got this immigration problem. They've literally immigrated people who are not Americans. They have no interest in being Americans. They don't care. The idea of, the idea of any sort of the derivatives of whatever the Christian society that we want to be again, but like they don't care about any of that. They only care about their culture, their mindset, bringing it here, being who they are, and they elected Mamdani, and then Mamdani endorses these people, and so it's just that same force, it's that same Mamdani wave that these people are riding, and they look at the Democrats and they're saying, you guys have not done what you're supposed to do. You get up there and compromise, just like our guys get up there and compromise and sell out us. They look and say, "Hey, you're selling out. We don't." And a lot of this does have to do. You say what you want. A lot of this does have to do with Israel and Gaza and Israel and Iran and that whole Middle East thing. It's similar to what's going on the right. The right is now asking questions. Is it such a good idea for Israeli foreign policy to be automatically baked into everything the United States does? And for that, those people on the right get called anti-Semitic. Even J.D. Vance now is getting slammed for criticizing Israel. President Trump himself has been criticized because he said, hey, you don't need to blow up a whole building. So people on the right are asking this same question, okay, in various forms. And can it go too far? Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. But then the ones on the left, from what I can tell, this Goldman guy, the incumbent Democrat Goldman, wasn't he denied entry into a coffee shop? Is that's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not, because Jonathan Greenblatt was the guy who from the ADL, who I don't trust. I think they're just the Southern Poverty Law Center, essentially. But he was all talking about, oh yeah, he couldn't get a cup of coffee because he's Jewish. Okay. Well, let's assume that's true, okay? Assuming that's true, there's a huge difference with the tactics on the right versus the tactics on the left. The tactics on the left are upset with United States' relationship with Israel and are like, hey, if you're Jewish, you shouldn't be able to get a cup of coffee in New York. The people on the right are saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't, fund you to knock down buildings and kill Christians in buildings or women and children in buildings and that sort of thing,
In Beirut.
In Beirut. It's like it's two different critiques.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know what I'm rambling.
One is objective, one is just racist.
Right. Okay. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, we can have an objective conversation about our relationship with Israel and what we're willing to do as it relates to Iran and the Middle East. But once you start telling a Jewish person, you can't do a political speech here out in front of our coffee shop because you are Jewish, then
is that the allegation?
Yeah,
okay,
that's absolutely what happened.
You can't do the speech, not get a cup of coffee. You can't stand in front of the coffee shop.
Well, he is outwardly and very very Jewish, and that was noticed.
The guy's name is Goldman.
Well, he was not welcome. All right, I mean, he was not welcome. That was made perfectly clear. And then once the Free Palestine collective finds out there's a place they can go viral and start making a bunch of noise, then their megaphone gets pretty loud.
Yeah. President Trump warning about this, saying President Trump issues warning after communist sweep New York congressional primaries, roasts former tormentor Dan Goldman in Savage Post. This is by Cullen Leinbarger. He says President Trump is not sitting silent after his beloved New York fell hard to communists backed by the Marxist New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani. Can we just take a moment to... I'm pretty sure Zoran is the leader of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Am I... I've never...
The bad guy?
Yeah, no. I think he's the good guy.
It wasn't my,
right?
it wasn't my era.
Zoran was the guy in Trapped in a Dimension that
don't know.
would come through a screen and would tell the Power Rangers where they needed to go.
Sorry, brother.
That was Zoran.
I was He-Man, Thundercats, and G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Power Rangers were like the next gen, and I was already past
I was
that.
kind of on the cusp.
I was
with
into
the Power
baseball
Rangers.
cards then. I couldn't do Power
Well,
Rangers.
I was on the cusp. So I was...
Oh, yeah, you would have been.
I got on the end of the G.I. Joe, but I immediately got into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then I had a solid Batman phase.
Oh, didn't
where
we all?
Batman animated series, the Warner Brothers Batman the animated. I had all of those action figures. I was meticulous with them. Like I would play with them. I had I had Gotham City mapped out of my room. The nightstand is this building. Like I was a serious Batman fanatic growing up, right?
This is, yeah.
And then as that's kind of winding down, and you're like, our action figure's very cool. I like this and everything, but you're on the edge. Then Power Rangers comes out, the TV show, and it was kind of one of those things where you'd get home from school. And you're like, yeah, this is really bad, but I can't look away. For some reason, I know this is bad, but it's also kind of cool.
Right.
And I was right at the cusp of the end of the... Anyway, sorry.
Zoltan.
Zoltan? Who's Zoltan?
I don't know. That's just what somebody said in the chat.
I don't know.
His name was Zoltan, actually, not Zoran. Not Zoran.
Zoltan?
Yeah.
There's no way his name was Zoltan. All right, we'll have to look it up.
I have no idea.
I'm going to stick with Zora. I don't know. I think it's Zora. I think his name was Zoran. I think that's hilarious if that's the case, but maybe it is Zoltan. I don't know. I do remember Voltron, though, which was essentially Power Rangers, but, before all that. You remember?
Was this like a Temu version of something?
No, it was like the precursor. It was a cartoon where you had all these. You had like 5-6 lions that created this giant mega robot or whatever. Anyway, the Gateway Pundit reported that Mamdani-backed Democratic Socialists swept congressional primaries in New York last night. One of those victims was Nepo baby and incumbent Democrat Representative Dan Goldman. He was trounced by former New York City Comptroller Brad Lander in the race for New York's 10th Congressional District. Other wins by communists included State Assemblywoman Claire Valdez, who crushed Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso, and former Mamdani campaign staffer Daria Liza Avila Chevrolet.
Oh, she's 5 gallons of crazy in a
Boy, you can
3-gallon
tell-
bucket.
I don't know if you saw the show yesterday. but
Holy cow.
I can't even say her name right. So.
Bless her heart. Whoa.
But I'm going to call her, Chevrolet. Chevrolet upset 5-term incumbent Democrat Representative Adriano Epeliet, the leader of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. While observing the election returns... What?
Do we have answers?
Well, you do? All right. So hang on real quick.
Okay.
All right, hold those answers. While observing the election returns, Trump warned that history shows that only further disaster awaits the Empire State. He said this in a Truth Social post. Many communists running in badly failing blue states. I can't really do it. So the votes seem to have them doing quite well against each other. The bad news is that history has conclusively shown that the downtrodden states that they will soon be running will only get worse, MAGA President Trump. Then he said, even though he tried unsuccessfully to prosecute me, and despite the fact that he is a major slimeball, I feel sorry for former Congressman Dan Goldman. He is wandering aimlessly together with the former husband of the great Kellyanne Conway through a large field of Democrat communists trying so hard to find his way. A very sad finish for a man who has no clue and never did President Donald J. Trump. So the president is aware of what happened in New York last night. And a lot of this had to do with the young vote. And I want to get to that here in a minute, but give me an update. What are we talking here with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Eric?
So it was Zordon.
Zordon.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Zordon,
Confirmed.
not Zoran.
Yeah.
So from now on, I want to call Mom Donnie
Yeah, just go ahead.
Zordon.
I was going to say, you can just transition that right over.
Yeah.
Say
Zordon, Mom Donnie.
Mayor Zordon.
I already
Leave
mispronounced
the Mom
the guys.
Donnie.
Yeah.
Mom Donnie out.
Yeah.
Just say, Mayor Zordon.
Maybe Rangers, you're needed in Angel Grove.
Thanks for screwing up New York City, Mayor Zordon. The pink one and the blue one and the yellow one are coming after you.
Yeah, that's right.
The green one's sick.
That's fantastic.
I don't know if I got my colors right.
No, it's fine. Key and Peele did that that sketch where they were doing a spoof.
Oh, yeah.
It was like Black Falcon. He's like, I'm the Green Falcon. Whatever, Black Falcon. I don't know. I don't like how you said black just then.
Zordon.
But they really did. If you go watch the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TV show, okay, the Red Ranger, all-American white guy, whatever, right? Brown hair, brown eyes, white guy. Pink Ranger, all-American, girl next door, girl, right? Mm-hmm. White girl, right? Yellow Ranger, Asian woman. Black Ranger, black man.
So racist.
They just didn't care at all back then.
Brutally racist.
Just did not care at all. They were like, yeah.
Let's check all the boxes of inappropriateness.
The writers were just like, all right, we got 5 colors here. We could put anybody anywhere. They're like, well, the Asian lady is definitely the Yellow Ranger, and the black guy who's a good dancer, like he was in the show, he's going to be the Black Ranger. It's like the writers are just like, of course. What are you talking about?
It's like the guys.
Is the sky blue?
It's like the guys in Spaceballs that are combing the desert with the pick.
Yeah.
We ain't found.
What do they say? Come on, you can't say it.
By the way, I can't wait for the new Spaceballs movie to come out.
Is it really coming out? I didn't realize.
Mel Brooks is like 145 years old, but he's still making movies.
He's still alive.
He is, man. Yep.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So some of the fallout from this story, we're going to turn to CNN, okay, because they're talking about the 17 to 30-year-olds and what actually happened in these New York congressional races. And the young vote is what swung this for the
free stuff, man.
Challengers.
Yeah.
Listen
Young people have struggled.
Well, among Democrats themselves, the Democratic Socialists of America have a higher net favor rating than the Democratic Party does, at least those who are members of Congress. I mean, just take a look here. Dem Socialists of America, plus 17 points. Democrats in Congress, plus 4 points. No wonder that Dem Socialists are getting nominated across the political map in different primaries because, simply put, they are more popular than the Democrats currently in charge.
Okay, I'm just thinking back to when I was sitting here and Zoran Mamdani was sitting there when he was running,
Zordon.
and I asked him about capitalism.
Yes.
And he had no problem saying that he had real issues with it. Okay, he wasn't afraid to say it. By the way, he ended up winning. It didn't hurt him. How do Democrats today view socialism compared to capitalism?
There's a reason why it didn't hurt him, and that is simply because this is one of the biggest political changes I've seen during my lifetime. Match up socialism, capitalism among Democrats. You go back 16 years ago, 2010, capitalism and socialism right there, favorable rating, 51%, 50%. Look at it now. Socialism clearly in the lead among Democrats. 66% of them view socialism favorably, just 42% view capitalism favorably. No wonder Mamdani had no problem blasting it.
Which is fascinating because when you look at races coming up in New York, you've got a big one up in the Bronx.
And that's going to be something that everybody has to worry about, not just the Democrats. The Republicans are as well, and that's why the Republicans better actually allow capitalism to be capitalism instead of crony capitalism and essentially a rigged system you're calling capitalism. Right, while you go to war, while you refuse to correct the policies that are going to war against the middle class, which is necessary to have a true capitalistic society, you have to have a healthy middle class.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you got to get rid of the Federal Reserve. Sorry, there I said it. Like that's the big one. That's the Wizard of Oz pulling all the strings behind the curtain.
These people will be exposed over the next number of months as they run in the general against a Republican candidate. But the problem is it's New York. So they're going to run against a Republican candidate, and it will just be interesting to see how folks like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and other, I guess, in this day, in the 2026 version of like a moderate Democrat, how they respond, and if they'll give them the same treatment like what they're giving Graham Plattner in Maine. It's like, well, it's what we got, and we got to get those numbers up in the Senate, so I guess we're going to support him.
Yeah.
Like no guts, no gumption, no standards, no integrity at all. Mm-hmm. Zero integrity. Because if they had any integrity, they'd call this stuff out and be like, these people have no place in this House or in the Senate.
I've been saying,
you're talking about Graham Plattner is the best we've got in Maine. This guy.
Well, I've been
Mr.
saying
Nazi tattoo
that you've got to make the. I mean, this is more from their organizational standpoint, their propensity for violence. Obviously, the false flags like the SPLC, some of that's happening. But that's why I've been saying not only do you have to hold people accountable, the intel community that are obviously all politically Democrats, you have to make the modern iteration of the Democrat Party illegal, like as it is, as its modern expression. I just, and the only way you do that is by enforcing the law.
Yeah.
And you run the crazy people out of the party, and you consign their dumb ideas to the dustbin of history.
But do Republican contenders have to swing their pendulum so far to the left to get votes to keep these people out? Or do these liberal states have to just learn the lesson the hard way and hope that eventually they get pushed out like Jasmine Crockett's or others of that ilk? What is the Republican response? We know what the Democrat response is. They just want people to feel that these people will vote Democrat whether they make an idiot of themselves in speeches and on the floor or not. That doesn't matter. They'll vote Democrat. So what will the Republican response be in these?
Unfortunately, they need to, in my opinion, Republicans have to just wait for these cities to collapse.
Ooh.
And
that's a pill.
And they will, and they're going to become so violent, and people are going to suffer. But then here's the answer.
Yeah.
Then you have to send in the National Guard in such a way that and deport everybody and restore law and order. And I don't think it will have. I mean, I think it's going to be a occupation for years. I'm sorry. This is the way I'm thinking. I mean,
dude,
you're
you
thinking
hear yourself?
I know, but I mean,
and I'm asking you. I'm being objective when I'm asked that question.
I do hear myself.
Okay,
but I don't see. And they could say the same thing about us when they get in power. The southern states. Hey, we just got to come down there. But I mean, or you just say, hey, let's just cut New York and these blue, like, let's form a new union. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I don't. These are two trains coming down the tracks at each other, and I don't think there's any way to avoid.
Yeah.
Some outside of supernatural intervention, these natural consequences of this level of wickedness, lawlessness, crazy. You've imported this problem specifically in New York. You've done all of this, and so New York City is going to look like literally a banana republic eventually. It is all going to come crashing down, and so do Republicans need to try to win by becoming socialist light or communist light? I actually don't think so. I think you should just let the inner cities be they have totally different values. They have different. I mean, the rural versus the urban has totally different ideas. Even look at Memphis. The reason Memphis is the way they are. I mean, they've now lost their congressional seat because the rest of the state is rural and has their head screwed on straight and says we don't agree with the values that these cities have. And when you go to a city, and this is the 30,000-foot view spiritual take on it, man, it's a lot easier to do some of the worst sinning you can possibly do in a big city. It is. I mean, like, if I really wanted to go throw my life away, I'm not going to go to the gravel road, the four-way stop, gravel road in the middle of nowhere. If I really want to go have a good time, where do I go? I go where there's lots of people and there's nobody that can really see me do whatever it is I'm about to do. And so, why? Why do you go to city? Well, it's more convenient. Everything's at the tip of my hands. You don't have to do as much. And so, idle hands are the devil's playground. It's literally right there. And I know it didn't used to be that way when these bigger cities were populated with people that had more of a moral compass. And so, I don't know. Like, to me, that's what you do. You just got to sit back. Or you do it now. You don't wait for the collapse. For the good of the people, you send in, you go and you do the deportations on a scale that should have already happened. You don't pull out of Minnesota. You don't do those things. Before you go into Minnesota, you go and arrest all of the left-wing financiers of who's dropping off the pallets. You go and bust all of those people before you even start this nonsense, so you don't have the media saying, oh, Renee Good, she did nothing wrong and all this other nonsense. But they didn't do that. So, anyway, I don't know. I don't know if I answered your question at all, but just listen to this guy. A lifelong Democrat by the name of Jamie Metzel, who is he says he's a futurist. He's the founder of One Shared World. Don't know what that is. Doesn't sound great. The AI 10 Commandments author, and he's a member of the Atlantic Council. And he says, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I served in the White House for President Clinton, in the State Department for Madeleine Albright, and with the United Nations in Cambodia. I believe the most important role of any government is to protect the most vulnerable people in society and create an environment where everyone can realize their fullest potential. So it gives me no pleasure to have come to the following conclusion. The American left, including the left wing of the Democrat Party, is currently embracing an orgy of virulent anti-Semitism. Okay. Now, Megan Basham, author of Shepherds for Sale, says, I'm going to say this as kindly as I can. What did you guys think was going to happen when you kept voting for a party bringing in millions and millions of new residents who hate you? How did you expect that to go? And and you say what you want, most people who are Jewish in America have voted for the left this entire time. They've voted for abortion rights. They've voted for LGBTQ, RSTLNE, woke sex religion throughout the land. That's what they voted for. Then they voted for mass immigration where borders don't matter and America can't have its own country. America has to be some sort of multicultural hellscape that just is not allowed to say, hey, our ideas are better than this other culture's ideas. Borders are racist, all this nonsense, right? America's not a country. America is essentially an economic zone. That's all it is. And they're the ones that have voted for this. And now the people, they're coming in because they're Muslim, they don't like this. And then there's also people on the left that, don't like, just like President Trump. There is a loose Venn diagram there when President Trump says you don't have to knock down entire buildings to go after one terrorist, right? There are people out there that see that and say, hey, that we shouldn't do that, okay? We shouldn't support that. Also, Mike Cernovich says in response to this guy, was the hatred of white Americans acceptable to you? Because the same thing was going. So this is now finally the chickens have come home to roost, specifically with the Democrats and Israel and Jews. But we have endured, as white Americans, this systematic blaming us for everything, and now anti-white bias throughout the culture, anti-Christian bias increasing, and they voted for the Democrats that were advancing those crazy policies. So a lot of people today are just like, well, okay. I mean, here's another one. Here's Joel Pollack from, does he still work at Breitbart? I'm pretty sure he does. No, he's at the California Post, co-host Three Homeless Guys. Well, he used to be at Breitbart a long time ago. He says, I hope by now that responsible people on the right, including the vice president. Okay, so Joel Pollack is reacting to the Democrat communists taking over and is lumping in the vice president's remarks last week where he called out Israel in the most reasonable way you could do, thread a needle, I think, and everyone freaked out about it, and they said that he hates Jews now. He says, I hope by now that responsible people on the right, including the vice president, who thought it was smart to trash Israel realized, by the way, Vice President did that because he was being trashed.
Right.
Because of them trying to get peace. Realize what a blunder they've made by making portions of the conservative movement toxic to Dem Jewish voters and donors just as they search for a new political home. So we were supposed to anticipate this and not question foreign policy in the Middle East because Democrats who are now disgusted with the left no longer have a place to come on the right. I just I don't know, man. That's pretty crazy to me. And R.N. McIntyre thinks this statement is very interesting as well, so he retranslates it. He thinks what Joe Pollak is really saying is, the overwhelming number of people I'm claiming to represent vote for and donate to Democrats despite everything you've done for us. But if you want to stop fighting a war in Iran, we'll keep voting for Dems like we're going to anyway. Not the threat you might hope it is. Kudos for Arn there. That's good. He says, this is like a black activist saying blacks won't vote Republican if we get rid of DEI. Yeah, man, we know you weren't going to vote for us anyway.
Yeah. There's no reason to pander. There's just no point in pandering.
That's really funny.
This is not art of the deal. No.
Oh, that's great. Here is Sean Hannity. We're going to play this. This is Sean Hannity reporting on the.
We know.
Here's Sean Hannity reporting on the election results last night from New York.
All right, this is a Fox News alert. Incumbent Congressman Dan Goldman, who was just banned from a New York City coffee shop because of his support for Israel. He has now lost his primary to a radical socialist backed by Mamdani. It appears that, a pretty scary transformation is now fully underway in the Democratic Party, especially in a blue state like New York.
So, the reason I'm playing this is because I saw this as I was consuming the news about Lander and Goldman. But what is wrong with Sean Hannity's face? And I don't agree with Hannity on much anymore. But what is going on with his face?
I wouldn't put too much into this. I think
What?
he either had a dental procedure or he just needs to be on a chiropractic bed.
No, but this isn't. I noticed it last week.
He's having a bad back day.
I noticed it last week, and I didn't say anything. I saw a clip of him last week, and I thought, man, there's something seems to be wrong with him. And it just from a human to human,
He's not young, man.
I know he's
old.
not, but he looks like he's got stung by a nest of bees. I mean, his face is
Trying to keep up with Ainsley,
sounds
his
like-
wife. I mean, he's old.
I don't know, man. But I mean, I'm not the only one to notice it because.
But Trump basically shot a buzzer.
Let's see. Hang on a second. The comments here. What is wrong with Sean Hannity's face? Now people are being cruel, but why he looked like he got attacked by killer bees.
That's what I thought. I thought maybe he had wisdom teeth surgery or something like that.
Now this is one I don't get.
Got a dry socket.
But this is, I guess, a reference to some X-Men movie that I don't remember. A dude looking like Senator Kelly after being hit with Magneto's rays. Oh, jeez. But I don't.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's a good. That's a
do you
good
know
analogy.
do you know the scene?
Yeah, it's from the first X-Men groupings, the Brett Ratner X-Men's. Yeah,
And there was
that looks pretty good.
There was a senator whose face swelled
Well,
up.
yeah, because it was right before he popped.
Okay.
Remember?
Yeah.
Right before he exploded.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway,
He came out of the water like as a blob.
I know. I don't wish harm on anybody. I hope Sean figures out what's going on. With
It's
his
another
face.
one of those masked guests on Fox News.
No.
By the way, that bald guy, that Admiral
Flaps.
I've seen him like 10 more times.
No flaps.
Because it wasn't a flap the first
It
time.
was.
It was a
dude.
shadow.
No, it wasn't a shadow. Have you gone and watched Mission Impossible?
I love the Mission Impossible movies.
Have you seen
by
the first
way.
one?
Yes, I've seen all
Have
of
you
them
heard me
many
say
times.
this? Have you heard me say this yet? I don't know if you've been here.
I don't think
Go watch the first one. And as they're trying to infiltrate the embassy at Prague, okay?
Oh, yeah, I remember
Tom
that.
Cruise is like, who am I going as? And Jim Phelps, who is
John Voight.
John Voight is like, you're going as Walter. He's like, we're going as Walter? He was like, yeah, he's one of ours. He's like, well, where's Walt? He says, where's Walter? Well, Walter's fly fishing on vacation.
Yeah,
Nobody knows where he is.
I remember.
But you're going to be him, and you're going into Prague. So, again, you don't want to admit, Eric, with all due respect, you don't want to admit what your own eyes see because the follow-up questions, which we don't exactly know what the answers to
Right.
are too.
I kept every time I've seen him since. Here's what's funny though. Every time I've seen him since, because he's on during the day and on multiple shows sometimes, and every time I keep waiting for him to say, "And by the way,
He wouldn't do it.
that was me." You know, I know I went viral for having this big.
He wouldn't even pull on
neck
it
flap
when he
thing.
went on Stitchfield right after the controversy. Well, not right after, he canceled, and then he eventually came on and he said, "Hey, will you pull on your face?" He says, "No, I'm not going to do that. I refuse. What we need to talk about is the Iran war."
I missed that.
Yeah,
I
he
missed that whole thing.
totally refused to do it. And if you look at them side by side, like they don't even look like the same. Like one looks super young, the other looks super old. So I definitely think it was a mask. I don't know why. I would imagine though that the current admiral, I can't even remember his name. I just call him Admiral Flaps. If he really had sold his likeness or whatever and was out on a beach somewhere, he's really mad at that guy for not getting that mask right because now he's having to actually work to prevent people from.
Dun,
Yep.
dun, 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 dun,
I'm telling you,
dun,
man.
dun, dun, dun.
Truth is stranger. Truth is stranger than fiction. Ben Shapiro says, last night, a bunch of candidates who literally despise America won in New York City. Establishment Dems who live in fear of their radical base will cave to them. By 2028, people who hate the country and wish to destroy it could be in charge. So, again, Orrin McIntyre said, maybe you should have cared because back in 2017, Ben Shapiro said, and by the way, I don't give a good damn about the so-called browning of America. Color doesn't matter. Ideology does. Well, what happens when what happens when most people who have the ideology all have the same color skin? I mean, at what point? And so there's a couple of different ways to look at this. And I was telling you and Rob this on the text thread today. We could do things to curb this. We could say, for example, we could pass a law in this country that says all foreign-born people. Right now, a foreign-born person cannot be the president of the United States. But we could extend that and say all foreign-born people are not allowed to hold public office. We could also say that we're going to ban Sharia law, and we're not going to allow it in our country. We could do those things. Or, and hear me out now, or we could just ban all Muslims from immigrating to our country, period. And that one, people, it's like, what's the difference? What is the real difference between those other things and what I just said? What I just said is much more blanket, and it guarantees that you're not going to have a problem. You're not going to have a entitlement problem. You're not going to have they're sucking up our taxpayers. You're going to end the problem, but it makes people upset because they bought this idea that America was founded not just as a Christian nation, but as the founders were like, yeah, when we say religious freedom, we mean pagan deities. We mean Satanism. We mean it all. Come on, give us all. And that, in my opinion, is not what they meant at all. So,
I mean, speaking of, there was one of these candidates that won last night that performed a satanic wedding.
There you go.
I mean, performed a satanic wedding for someone. So, yeah.
And, Trump has glanced in that direction in his first term when he banned those certain Muslim countries, no immigrants from these certain Muslim countries. So we can do this.
And what a racist he was accused of being.
He was accused of being a racist.
Every ick and
but what he was really doing
and
is
whatever.
Yeah,
but
he's really keeping people safe. And so, and I'll be honest, I don't necessarily, and you can call me a racist all you want. I don't care. The law that would ban all foreign-born people from holding any office whatsoever, I don't necessarily. I mean, maybe I would do it if I could push a button, But I mean, you look at these Europeans, these Western Europeans that are coming over here in awe of America, and I think some of them are going to realize that they live in communist countries, and I think some of them are going to try to immigrate here, and I think some of them are going to love America, appreciate America, and assimilate. And by the way, there's not a lot of assimilation they have to do, again, because they're from Western Europe. Not a whole lot. And in 10 years, I don't necessarily think it'd be a bad thing for those people to run for city council or something, you know? So it might be better to just go by ideology, go by religion in this case, and say, no, I'm sorry, this is incompatible with us, and we're not gonna tolerate it. Or maybe you look to Russia and figure out how they manage it. I don't really know. You know, Russia has there's a lot of Muslim populations, you know, in Russia, but how do they manage it exactly? I don't know, but it's
they're flooding the zone in places like Minneapolis and other sanctuary cities.
But see, what this tweet from Ben Shapiro in 2017 functions as a virtue signal. It functions as a hey, if I say this, I'll forever get rid of the myth and the notion that Republicans are racist. So we've got to always constantly prove that we're not racist, and you got to prove it to such a degree that you have to stand by while your countrymen are raped and murdered and then fleeced by tax, fleeced from your tax dollars to go to programs. And people are given generational wealth while you go to work every day. People are getting paid to just stay at home with their families and have kids all day. Like, no, so you're saying we can't make observations and plan accordingly, all because they're going to call us a racist if we just make the same immigrant calculations that countries have made for thousands of years.
Yeah.
It's only America that has this problem. Well, I mean, obviously Western Europe does too, but I don't know. It's pretty frustrating. So in other news, President Trump canceled today's housing news conference. He says today's housing news conference and signing is hereby canceled until such a time as we pass the desperately needed Save America Act, which I consider to be a national emergency. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So he's now saying it's a national emergency. So are we about to get an executive order where Trump does what we predicted he may do when it comes to what's in the SAVE Act?
You know who walked into the room with him when he said this
No.
and then went into the meeting?
Who?
Right behind him? John Thune.
John Thune.
Progress may be happening.
Oh, you think so?
I'm not saying John Thune is by any means the leader that we need him to be right now, but I'm just saying John Thune was standing right next to him when he went in front of the cameras today and said, I'm about to go into this meeting with all the senators and we're going to get some things straight. Right after he canceled this thing and put this post up on Truth. So
the Daily Caller reported last week that behind closed doors they hate Trump. There's a few Republican senators that don't want to pass it because they just hate this man.
I get it. They're about to be called to the table today.
Yeah, they are. This is what President Trump said after that meeting. I think this is more on the Iran situation. Take a listen.
That oil just broke the $70 number. Who would have thought that was going to happen? And that's during a war. And Iran is being very nice. They're agreeing to everything that I want. And they have to. Otherwise, we just go back and do what we have to do. Thank you very much.
All right, so notice Rick Scott is now in the picture.
Yep. Rick Scott called this meeting today.
Oh, he did?
Rick Scott called President Trump to come to this meeting. The senators were going to be meeting today, and Rick Scott specifically and personally reached out to Donald Trump and said, President Trump, you need to be at this meeting.
Okay.
That was the update before I came to the studio earlier. And so you see him show up there. I mean, and the questions were everybody was just yelling. Like, whoa, this is a really big deal.
Was there anything else? Was there anything of note that you said or that you saw that we need to talk about in the conference? Because I didn't see the whole thing.
Just the look on John Thune's face as he turned and walked into the room with President Trump.
How would you describe that look?
Defeated.
Angry? Maybe angry?
Yeah, annoyed.
Annoyed.
Yeah.
This guy's threatening the power that should be mine for the next 20 years type situation.
But this is what we voted for.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean,
this is where Trump shines.
I mean, he's now holding up the Housing Act. He's now holding up the FISA renewal.
Trump's going to walk in there in that room and be like, guys, stop. What are we going to do? How can we get this done?
Yeah.
I don't care if you hate me or not. I don't care.
They know impeachment's on the line, though. These guys that actually hate him, they know they know what happens with it if the Dems get control of the House, and they know the SAVE Act could go a long way in preventing that. Mm-hmm. So it's really, really messed up, man. And I think that's why some of them, Republicans are upset. Even Rick Scott has said some things, that, with a memorandum of understanding that they're very concerned about because Israel is upset with what's going on right now. They don't want the peace to work out the way it is. Things are moving really fast. You heard him say it. And that's why this next clip here. We've got 2 clips or 3 clips. Let's get to it. We get to Mark Levin. So a little update on the Iran situation. Is Mark Levin. The Iranian regime will now receive more money from this deal in a single year than Israel receives in 10 years, nearly all of which buys military equipment from American companies. Israel is actively and aggressively focused on complete economic and military independence. It does not want to be treated as a sterling partner in war, but a belittled punching bag the rest of the time. Just listen to what's said about Israel by Democrats, woke Reich, podcasters, TV hosts, and even some of our friends. I fear, Mark Levin says, I fear we will regret this as we grow closer to countries like Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan and go down a narrow and dark path. So here's a guy. So we covered this on Monday because as I got in the car on Friday, Mark Levin was very upset.
No.
And he was upset because there was an Israeli publication that said that Benjamin Netanyahu was going to leverage American influencers like Mark Levin and others to represent Israel's frustration to President Trump about the Iran deal. And that was picked up by the Washington Examiner and reported on. And Mark Levin was mad that they didn't reach out to him for comment. And Mark Levin was like, I can't,
Wait, in his words, how would he have said? How would he have said this?
Hey, Mr. Producer, and then they didn't ask me for comment, And then he said, what did he say? He was like, I haven't been meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, but so what if I did? And he said it several times on Friday. I have not been meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, but so what if I did? And I was like, why does he keep saying, but so what if I did? And then I got off, and then I read that after he did his show on Friday, he got on a plane and went to Israel. And met with Benjamin Netanyahu and like all these people. And then I was like, that's why he was saying, so what if I did? Like, what in the world? So this is that.
Thankfully, you said that in the way he said it, so we could all understand it a lot better.
You want to savor it,
It's the tone.
Mark Levin has, I don't know. He does not have a radio voice.
No.
And yet he has a,
It's a chihuahua. It's a ankle-biting yipper dog.
So anyway, this is that same conference, all right, that Mark Levin went to. And he's been there for a while because I listen to his show every day when I come home from work to see what's going on with old Marky. And he's had Ben Ferguson guest hosting this whole week, so I presumably he's still there. But here is a speaker at that conference that Mark Levin was at, former Hamas and Israeli intelligence member Mossab Hassan Youssef. And he said a couple of things that have been making the rounds. Listen to this.
I've been saying this from day one. I did not want Trump's involvement in this war because he has been a disadvantage. And as I said, I only represent myself. He does not understand war. And he wants Israel to work according to his schedule. And he wants Mossad to be ready.
He looks mad.
Any moment. When we had the upper hand, he killed the opportunity. And we were not ready. He rushed. Help is on the way. This is not how it works. This is the recipe for a disaster. And I saw that coming before they went to the war. But anyway, who does go to war on a schedule? When you go to war, especially against such powerful enemy, you don't say, I want to finish it in 5 weeks. Nobody go to the war on a schedule. And when you go to war, you better be ready, not only for winning. Defeat is possible. Death is possible. You don't go to war only thinking about winning and victory. That's not the quality of people who really and actually want to accomplish tasks.
Dude, this is the bad guy in every movie for the last 30 years. This is the bad guy in Iron Eagle. This is the bad guy in, I mean, just name it. Mission Impossible movies.
Yes.
This dude is bad.
Yeah.
This guy.
I'm
sorry. I'm literally scared watching this guy being I need Arnold Schwarzenegger or Rambo to come out and take this guy out. This is the bad guy in Rambo 3.
He's intense. But you mentioned Iron Eagle. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I want these pigs destroyed.
That's this guy. Get down and get out of your flight suit.
Yes.
I'm gonna take the plane up and take Doug out.
That was great. That was such a great movie. Iron Eagle was the best.
Watched that with my 11-year-old son a few weeks ago, and it was one of the greatest things ever. I forgot how good the soundtrack was.
Yes.
On that, I mean, my goodness, it was awesome. Louis Gossett Jr.
Yeah, it's like they take the guy who's obviously Saddam Hussein at the end of the movie, and it's like, okay,
Jewel of the Nile, Bucklebrush.
How are we going to kill the leader of this Middle Eastern country? And they're like, okay, he's going to demand to fly the plane himself. You know, that's how we're gonna get him. You know?
Yeah,
man, that was a great movie. Do you ever see? So I don't know that black actor that played Chappie in that. I don't know his name. I should, because he was like
Louis Gossett Jr.
Okay, so he was like prolific in the 80s.
Oh man, he was awesome.
You ever see Toy Soldiers?
Yes.
With Sean Astin?
Heck yeah.
Dude, Toy Soldiers was it. I love
that guy
movie.
right there is the bad guy in that too.
Yeah, he is.
That guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey man, stereotypes exist because
our chat's lit up with great ties to this guy in bad movies too, because that's who he looks like.
Stereotypes exist because they reinforced every single day.
Sorry, man, I know you didn't want Trump involved in this war, but you sure liked having all of our ammunition and all of our bombs and all of our anti-missile defense.
Oh, they loved it.
Yeah,
they loved it.
You're welcome for us shooting down all the drones and all of the Hail Marys coming over from Iran.
All right, so here he is again in the same speech, and he talks about a shorter clip here, but I wanted to play it because he talks about how Israel has secret weapons that they have not yet used on the battlefield.
Israel's existence is not negotiable, and it does not depend on superpowers or the public opinion. And if they keep pushing Israel to the corner, they are the ones who are going to suffer the most. Israel hasn't used everything that it has. And Israel, on a purpose, did not expose the advanced weapons that it has for very important reasons.
Well, you kind of have now, buddy.
We don't want the enemy to know what we are having. And now, at this point, we're just playing around. So, this is the clear message to those who think that they can annihilate Israel. Behind Israel is existence.
Okay, so the reason I played that clip is because it is newsworthy that you have a guy, again, Mossab Hassan Youssef, former Israel intelligence, is saying that they have weapons that they have not yet used that the enemy doesn't know anything about. What is he talking about?
Well, and so you're saying, or so these Democrat, the guy you read his post a while ago. So this is the guy that you're saying J.D. Vance is basically racist for calling out from the microphone to say, hold on, and you're with him. It's like, we're not with him.
Mm-hmm.
We're not. So you're going to put the accountability that J.D. Vance displayed from the White House podium. It is wild to see where people's allegiances lie.
Yeah, it is. I said from the beginning of this war, because the president did put it on a schedule, and I thought to myself, this was also happening when this whole alleged alien disclosure was supposed to come out, and I was wondering, because of the cards, they are what they are. The cards that we say, the Strait of Hormuz, the topography is what it is. Mm-hmm. The ballistic missile capability of Iran is what it is. Our military is what it is. But, you either have nukes or you have ground troops, and that's not an option. But I did also say, but are there direct energy weapons? Are there things that our military? Because in light of what happened in Venezuela, there were reports that the soldiers we sent to Venezuela had technology that was terrifying to the survivors in that Maduro compound, right? And so I was thinking, are we about to see a mass rollout of this type of technology in a much larger conflict? To bring Iran to heel or whatever, and apparently
some of those
we haven't done that.
Some of those Maduro loyalists, after we were done with them, their remains fit in a shoebox.
Yeah, those were Cubans.
Yeah,
Cuban mercenaries.
Right,
fit in a shoebox.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, what in the world was that? What was going on? And so you assume
straight out of a
but then
sci-fi.
we had the report, kind of the opposite report of that yesterday. The Gateway Pundit reported that one of the pilots that crashed down and we had that huge rescue operation was swarmed in air by big drones and small drones from Iran, was absolutely swarmed, and they were moving in unison, and they said it looked alien, and it looked like a giant octopus made up of drones.
Whoa.
And you're just like, well, what kind of technology is that? And drones are so much cheaper than the missiles that we're firing, especially the ones we're firing to intercept the drones. Anyway, it's just crazy, interesting stuff going on right now, and who knows it. But again, this guy's saying Israel has secret weapons. We know they have nukes, but he's not. I don't think he's talking about nukes, because everybody knows that they've got nukes.
Yeah.
Is he talking about that? I don't know. It's a very interesting turn of events. We're going to take a break. We're going to reset here. This is the Paul Harrell Program with Eric Haynes in seat number 3 today. Really do appreciate you being with us. We're going to go to break. Don't go anywhere. Back in a moment.
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red 5.
My name is John, and this is my beautiful wife, Lori, and this is our Star Wars Ewok. His name is Scout, and we have Scout for about 11 years now, and we started noticing about 3 years ago he started slowing down. He was unable to jump on the bed. He was kind of a little bit grumpier, and when my daughters, Macy and Mariah, would take him on walks, he would walk for about 30 yards, and then he'd lay down, and they'd carry him the rest of the way. So I heard about Pet Club 24/7 and about the products from a gentleman that I really trust and share a friendship with. And he mentioned to me that they have products that are going to help him with his arthritis, help him build his immune system. And I said, okay, no problem. Let's try them out. And I kid you guys not, within about 2 to 3 days, we started noticing a little difference. And then we took Scout on a walk probably about a week after we started using the products, the Mush Puppies, and he would walk the entire way. He would walk at least a mile, and it's just been completely amazing. He's a new dog. He's 11 years old, which is around 80 years in dog years, and he's just happy. He's more energetic. He's not the grumpy old man he used to be, and we're just so thankful. And it was perfect timing because we lost our boxer Yankee about 1.5 years ago, and it was really hard on us. So I'm so thankful for Pet Club 24/7 for the products that they offer. Imagine if you could have your best friend around one more day or one more week or even one more year. I'm so blessed and thankful that we were able to find this company and find these products for Scout. So thank you guys. Give it a shot. We appreciate you. God bless everyone.
I had 5 units that I purchased for the practice right out of the chute. Well, those went the first week that I got back to Houston. So then we ordered another 5 and then another 5. And I think over the next, 6 to 8 weeks, we had ordered like 35 units. and they're gone. They're still gone out of the practice. So we're excited about moving more of these units for our patients because they need them. And so when you bring in new technology and your staff's thinking, oh, this is another thing that I need to handle during the day, I think it's a good idea to give them a little incentive. And I do it as a team. So if one person does well, the whole team does well. So they all support each other. And they got really excited about that. They love it. They'll bring a unit in, turn it on, put it on the patient's foot or leg, and they'll tell the patients, be sure to talk to Dr. Parker about red light therapy. And the patient will say, red light therapy, yeah, I've heard of that, And so I'll walk in and my nurse is she'll tell me, I've spoken to Mrs. Jones about this red light therapy, and she's really excited about it. So Red Vive has been fantastic for our bottom line.
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red Vive.
The Paul Harrell Program.
Welcome back to the show, folks. So glad that I'm able to do this, and so glad that you're here with us. We Elevate Chat. Really appreciate you guys' support and encouragement. And really just the general, participation in the show, and the fact that, Eric was saying that you guys had some great Iron Eagle type references when we were talking about that villain.
It's just movie references in general too. It just lit up with a lot of great comments. That was pretty nostalgic for me because, that guy truly was representative of every bad guy from every bad movie where the Middle East was involved for like 20 or 30 years growing up as a kid. So, and I think everybody else kind of saw that as well. So anyway, it was pretty funny.
Hang on one second. Somebody's asking me to add the Red Vive Health link, redvivehealth.org/Paul. That's where you get the 35% discount. I don't know if that's you may have to copy and paste that. I don't know if it's showing up as a link, but there you go. That's the address there. Really interesting stuff. I don't want to harp on it too much, but my family, man, they love these panels. They're getting. I've recommended them. They're getting the same results that I've gotten. And chronic pain, you twist a muscle, something like that. Matter of fact, so I'm going to be off until I guess next Wednesday. I'll be back on the air July 1st, but we're taking this sucker with us because it's just something that people need the whole time. But anyway, so first of all, happy belated birthday.
Thank you,
Eric.
Yeah, yesterday was a big day.
Yeah. Do you mind?
It's just a number.
Just a number.
I told my folks the other day, I was like, I don't know what it's supposed to feel like to be this age, but I don't know.
Well, you don't look 50.
Because I'm not 50. Thank you, my friend.
Well, yeah.
I'm 46.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, you do not look 46 or 50. You look like...
I feel like...
You kind of barely look 40 years old,
I feel
man.
like the 40-plussers from my parents' generation, teachers of mine and others growing up as a kid, I feel like maybe their lives aged them a lot different. And maybe it's just that I have little kids at home and they keep me young. And, we pay attention to our diet and all that stuff and exercise and everything. But I just feel like it's different these days. Oh, great.
Logue23 says, wow, Eric, you're old.
Thanks a lot. Well, I may be, but I don't feel old. I don't feel it. Yeah, yesterday was fun.
We've got P Year Out says that you're still young, Eric. You're still young. So
thanks.
We've got Swamp Stomper says, happy birthday. I thought you were closer to my age. Well, Swamp, do you want to tell us how old you are, brother?
I see right there.
You want to tell us? Did he say it?
71.
71 years old. My goodness. Yeah, they're not playing around.
I have an old heart. It's because I'm Gen X.
That's right.
I'm that last year of Gen X. I know what it's like to live without technology, and I know what it's like now to live with technology, and it's cool to have been raised without it, but have it now. So
I feel bad for the Gen X generation in terms of the fact that don't get me wrong, I'm glad that we have a millennial vice president.
Yeah,
but isn't it weird that we never had a Gen X VP? Isn't that strange?
Yeah,
that the boomer generation has held on so long that the Gen X seems to be. Now I think it's going to change. I think there will be more Gen X people, but we leapfrog Gen X and we put a millennial in the vice president's office.
I'm not sure how a Gen Xer would have done in the White House, because I don't think we go along with nonsense enough. Gen Xers just we have 0 F's to give on a lot of this stuff. We were raised the way we were raised in a society where get yourself up, dust yourself off, figure things out, walk to school, live without a phone, live without the internet.
More feral compared to
100%.
Yeah.
Go ride your go-kart, your bike, and we'll see you when the street lights come on.
Yeah. And I had the same experience.
That's just the way we were. That's the way I grew up in small town middle America. And, I kind of see the world now in all these safe spaces and peanut allergies and stuff like that. And it's just, it's a little cringeworthy sometimes. And so trying to raise little kids now, where the pendulum swung and now it's trying to swing back. And there's a lot of things, I think, practicality speaking, that are bringing the pendulum back a little bit. But, you see evidence all the time where people are like, man, music was just so better back then.
Yep.
And movies were just so much better back then. And people are starting to recognize that the pendulum swung too far.
No,
and
you're right.
We allowed all these liberal-minded idiots to infect and infest our culture. And there's going to be a pushback.
Yeah.
And wherever the line finally ends up being drawn, and wherever that tipping point is on a lot of things, I think you are starting to see evidence of the fact where parents especially are realizing, like, I'm not going to raise my kid like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care if it's old school. I don't care if it's old fashioned. I don't care if I feel like my grandparents sometimes almost. And we're going to go back to the Stone Age a little bit. But doggone it, put the screens down and go outside and play in the dirt.
Yep, that's right.
That's the way we are with our kids. And it's not punitive. It's not mean-spirited in any way. I just want my kids to be creative. I want my kids to be patriotic and love their country and love their church and love their neighbors and people around them, and to love God the way they should. And that's just, it seems like so simplistic, but man, the pendulum swung a really far direction with certain aspects of Gen Y and millennials.
Yeah. Well, I was having this conversation with a family member the other night, and she's a millennial, but we were talking about the Zoomer generation, because I was like, tell me, because she's younger millennial than I am. I'm right on the cusp, born in '84. So I also, like you, we've talked about this before. I remember analog tech and going into digital and seeing, and I had Gen X sisters, so older sisters. So I was very much, I was a huge Van Halen, Sammy Hagar Van Halen fan. That's my card. That's the card. That's my Gen X card, if there ever is one. So anyway, but we were talking about the Zoomers, because I was curious. What I'm reading is that they are very over it, and they are, they're no nonsense. They're not drinking, because they're not drinking alcohol the same way that millennials and Gen Xers did, primarily, I think, because she said, now hear me out, she said this is the first generation that is aware that they're being surveilled at all times, and they are terrified of any cringe moments. We all love to look at stuff online where it's like, that's cringy, right?
Yeah.
this generation is terrified, some of them, of being caught in a cringeworthy moment. So they want to be in control of their faculties, and alcohol obviously is how you lose control of your faculties. Then with the internet, there's just less parties in general. People are not going to parties the way they used to go to parties. And so she said, you've got actually kind of two camps in the Zoomers. You've got the ones who are afraid of the cringe or being caught doing something. They know they're surveilled at all times. They don't actually post a lot on the internet, but that all they do is surf the internet, and they're very recluse. They're very inverted, and that sort of thing. And she said, and then you have the contingent of Zoomers that are like rage baiters and will do outrageous things. Will get on an e-bike and blast music in public. They know they're being surveilled, but they're embracing it, and they're actually it's a form of rebellion to just like, go do outrageous stuff in public, right? And those are the people that are going to be in charge someday. And one of the reasons they're doing this is because they look around and they say, housing is unaffordable. I could go to college like my guidance counselors are still telling me to, my taxpayer guidance counselors that are still telling me to go take out a government loan and be in $100,000 in debt after 4 years and then not be able to get a job because of AI. And they're seeing all this and they are mad. And at the same time, this is going on. Yeah. The average age of a U.S. senator is like 70-something.
Yeah.
And we were talking last night. I was like, they are. If they get power with that mindset, they do not care about our system. And understandably so. They're not going to care about the Constitution. They're going to want to make the crazy people stop, and they'll use the government force to do it. Yeah. Unless something drastically changes. That is what's on the horizon for the United States of America as the Zoomers come up.
I gave a speech at a high school reunion of mine not too long ago, and we were all laughing in the room. I tried to make it a little bit more conversational, but it was just like I was telling my dear friends that I grew up with. It's like, can you imagine the kids? Or can you imagine what we got away with then that you'd never get away with now because of Life 360 apps?
Yep.
And all the mom groups have their chats. Like we would have gotten caught in 5 seconds. We wouldn't have made it. We wouldn't have spent hours at that party.
You ever go rapping
until the cops came or something like that? Not that we were crazy enough that the cops came, but it's like kids don't do that anymore. They know they sit there at home or somewhere, and they're just on their screens, and that's how they're communicating, and that's the way they're doing things. It's just a very, very different. And so I'm watching as my kids, aren't old enough for that yet, but I'm trying to figure out like, y'all are just gonna do things so differently than I did. I'm not even gonna be able to relate, like because we're pushing back hard on cell phones and all that stuff, and we're trying to find other technologies so that they just don't, so that it doesn't become a problem. But it's just like their just activities alone are just so very different than mine were in high school, and I just their lived experience I'm already seeing will be so very different because of technology. And that generation, they'll have no concept of, hey, who's got a fake ID and who's gonna like none of that stuff is gonna be because they're
go back and watch that.
To your point, they'll be so nervous about that being about somebody doing this, and then it going on Snapchat or on Facebook or on Instagram, and then it's just like, all right, my life's over.
Yeah, it was a crazy situation to think about, or it was kind of nuts to think how they're actually afraid. Like they know they're being mass surveilled at all times. Yeah. And it actually is, it's like, wow, that's a terrible way to live, to think about it. What are we doing to this next generation with this technology? I mean, you can go back and look at the movie.
Enemy of the State.
Enemy of the State. But you go back and look at that movie where they had a fake ID. Superbad. That was remember that movie?
McLovin.
Yeah, but they still had flip phones.
It just says McLovin.
Yeah. All right,
who are you, Seal?
Yeah, the Hawaiian organ donor.
It's a fine ID.
Yeah,
it's
right.
gonna work.
But like that movie alone, like that movie makes no sense now because
Seth Rogen said on a podcast literally last week, he's like, we would never be able to make that movie today. Ever. No way in the world would that movie fly today.
Yeah, and it would
never get made.
I remember, but I mean, when I was growing up, like if I woke up on a Saturday morning when I was growing up, and I walked outside in my front yard and it had been toilet papered in the trees, it was a mystery as to who did it. I mean, you might have had a few suspects, but who decided to do this to me? Now, with Ring doorbell cameras?
Oh, yeah.
Let's just pull up the footage. I know exactly who came, at 3 a.m. last night.
Yeah.
So, I mean, little things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different, man. It's different for sure.
All right, so real quick, let's get an update on Pulte, shall we? This is the story from The Last Refuge. Acting DNI Pulte removes 51 from agencies, 6 fired, and 45 sent back to their home agencies. CBS News is reporting on events within the Office of Director of National Intelligence. As Conservative Treehouse previously outlined, Acting Director of National Intelligence Bill Pulte is following a very predictable path. The part of the CBS report that tells the story is 6 career and political intelligence staff were terminated and 45 were sent back to their home agencies, according to 3 sources familiar with the personnel moves. One source characterized the cuts as thoughtful and methodical. No staffers have been removed from the counterterrorism group. So Last Refuge says, who was removed? Well, I'm certainly not the Nostradamus of the USIC, but if I were to hazard an educated guess, it looks like the National Intelligence Council Directorate of Analysis just lost 6 political staff, and 45 people from the various liaison desks were sent back to their home agencies. As we noted last year, he writes, Tulsi Gabbard took the National Intelligence Council out of the CIA, fired the heads, then putting the assembly back under the control of the ODNI. However, highly political operatives within the former CIA-controlled Directorate of Analysis, the former home of Eric CIA Ramella, who framed Donald Trump and was part of that frame job with the impeachment, were still problematic. It looks like Director Pulte just eliminated the remaining DOA rats. The 45 returned to their home agencies were certainly from the liaison desks inside the DNI. Now, if you want more context on these agencies and what Conservative Treehouse, The Last Refuge, is talking about here, here's a snippet from the interview we did with the head of the House Intelligence Committee, Rick Crawford, on that very phenomenon of bureaucracies sending representatives to to liaison with the Director of National Intelligence.
Supposed to be. Well, it was supposed to be comprised of essentially embeds from various elements of the IC. So you've got people from the FBI embedded. You've got people from the CIA embedded. You've got the DIA and various defense elements. There are 18 IC elements, agencies within the intelligence community. The big ones that we think about are the CIA, the FBI, and the NSA. Those are always the 3 that we think about. But you've got the DIA. You've got the Department of Energy. You've got Treasury. You've got DOJ. You've got all the military branches. Each have their own intelligence agency. You've got the DEA. You've got, I could go through and list all of them, but they all comprise the IC writ large, which means every one of them have embeds into the ODNI. So any one of them could be reporting back to their parent agency and are, which is also part of the problem. And you need the subject matter expertise, the institutional understanding that resides in specific agencies. You've got the real technical stuff that you deal with in the NGA and the NRO that we don't even hear about. That's dealing with a lot of the overhead stuff. The NSA. There's a lot of technical stuff that the ODNI needs, that expertise, that subject matter expertise. But we also need to understand how the CIA works. Okay, we're going to bring in some detailees to come in, and they're going to work for us for a year or 2. Well, they work for the CIA. They just happen to be detailed or embedded with ODNI. Therefore, that conduit of communication back to the parent agency is still very robust.
Right.
So
wow,
that gives you a lot of context, and I'm so grateful that Rick came in and sat down with us, and we can't wait to do it again. He's talking about the exact thing that The Last Refuge here is talking about in Conservative Treehouse, and what Bill Pulte. So now I think we have a clear picture of who Bill Pulte is.
How many days of his 200 days does he have left?
I don't know. But, I mean, it's only
leave him there.
170 something until the midterms.
Right.
So, I mean, he's well past the midterms. Okay. So we now have a clear picture of who Bill Pulte is. You know, just on a basic level, Republicans and Democrats were freaking out that this guy was nominated, or this guy was named acting director, which is the president's power to do. They wanted this other guy, Jay Clayton, to immediately get it. And Trump said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to put a hold on his nomination. And he may withdraw the nomination and give it to the guy that you just saw on your screen. That's what I'm hoping for. Now The Last Refuge is saying the 45 returned to their home agencies were certainly from the liaison desks inside the DNI. So the very problem that Rick Crawford was talking about on this show 4 weeks ago, now the acting DNI is getting rid of those liaisons and is sending them back to their agencies. That's a pretty big deal. Do you think? That's a pretty big deal. I think I like this guy, Bill Pulte. I think I like this guy.
Yeah. That's why I asked the question that I asked.
He says, I'm not sure if this represents 45 across all desks or the complete elimination of some overstaffed liaison desks. That said, given the nature of the leaking that was recently sent to CNN, State Department leaks to CNN, I am somewhat confident the State Department liaison office inside the DNI is now empty office space. Just a hunch. Please remember, our predictive public discussions at Conservative Treehouse are in the strictest confidence. Just over 50 careers. So that's the CBS report. Let's see if he has a follow-up. Meanwhile, in related news, this sets up a stalemate as several Democrats have said they will not support reauthorizing Section 702 while Pulte remains Trump's acting DNI. 702 is FISA. So here we go. We're getting an inside look at how all of the sausage is made. Pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff. And this little program is, I think, has contributed. I'm just going to say, I think our little program here has contributed to the discussion in a meaningful way, and that's thanks to Congressman Rick Crawford for sitting down with us.
Amen.
So, anyway, in other news, while we're talking about the Intel oligarch, I wanted to have a little bit of a discussion about this article from Data Republican about the USAID and how they built color revolutions. This kind of dovetails what we've been talking about with Anthony Fauci. So Tulsi did release all that stuff on Fauci being a liar and funding the COVID and everything else, and I think he's responsible for 7 million deaths worldwide, at least. Like, that's incredible. I think him and I think parts of our own government are essentially now up there in the history books as some of the worst governments because Fauci funded this virus and it leaked out. We're told. I don't think it was an accident, but let's just accept the official narrative that it was an accident. It doesn't matter. You're responsible for 7 million deaths. And he's been pardoned.
I was just about to say.
Sick.
And isn't it amazing that he has a full pardon and doesn't have to show account for any of that?
The left has been saying since the funding for USAID has been cut that 4 million people have died because of the funding being cut. That's their mantra, okay? So that's what Data Republican says. Everyone is arguing about whether USAID was wasteful. Nobody's explaining what it was actually for. Yesterday, the Daily Caller ran a piece noting that since Trump gutted USAID, right-wing candidates have swept Bolivia, Chile, Honduras, Costa Rica, Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia. The left hasn't won a single Latin American presidential election since the funding stopped. Meanwhile, Ro Khanna went on a podcast and said Elon Musk possibly sentenced to death 4.5 million children by dismantling USAID. Musk threatened to sue him. The right points to USAID grants for transgender operas in Colombia and DEI workshops in Syria and asks why American taxpayers were funding them. The left points to children who depended on foreign aid claims and claims millions of deaths. But both miss the purpose of true USAID. USAID was one of Washington's primary instruments for regime change abroad. Beneath the humanitarian programs, the cultural incentives, and the development projects sat a much larger objective, managing regime change and color revolutions across the globe. Which raises an obvious question. What does a transgender opera in Colombia have to do with regime change?
Right.
That reminds me of Star Trek V. What does God need with a starship?
Spock's brother.
Yes, Spock's brother. Yeah. Quite a lot, as it
cool.
turns
That was
out.
cool.
Quite a lot, as it turns out. Read on. The 5 capabilities. Media, legal, election monitoring, activist training, government data. Media. Independent outlets, journalism training, equipment, institutional funding, so a newsroom can survive without depending on the local government or corporations for revenue. The function is to ensure that there is an independent outlet ready to broadcast Western narratives. You need a megaphone before you can propagate a message. Legal infrastructure. Lawyers, legal aid clinics, rule of law programs, judicial reform advocacy. The function is to build a class of professionals who know how to challenge a government through its own legal system and who have the institutional backing to survive doing it. And yes, build a judiciary that shares the values of liberal Western democracy. Election monitoring, observer training, voter roll modernization, parallel vote tabulation. PVT is the critical technology, an independent count run alongside the official one. Without PVT data, people claiming a stolen election are sore losers. With Western-backed election monitoring, they're defenders of liberal democracy. And with all of this, of course, the opportunity for corruption just grows.
Right.
Then there's the activist training, civic engagement workshops, youth leadership, community organizing. Remember Obama, the community organizer? The grant descriptions say civic engagement and leadership development. The skills being transferred are how to organize a protest, sustain a protest, train others to protest, communicate with the media, and nonviolent discipline under pressure and training. The result is a trained cadre of people who know how to convert public anger into sustained political pressure across multiple election cycles. And then number 5 is governance data. Procurement monitoring, FOIA programs, budget transparency initiatives, anti-corruption databases. These organizations, NGOs, generate the raw material that the media report on. The lawyers cite in court, and election monitors reference in their findings. Without this layer, propaganda, the other 4 operate on anecdote. With it, they operate on evidence. None of these looks like regime change in isolation. A journalism training program is a journalism training program. The system becomes visible only when you fund all 5 in the same country for a decade and the people running them all know each other because you trained them at the same conferences, connected them through the same fellowship programs, and funded them through the same grant pipelines. Honestly, like you just think about this sounds so Soviet in its application.
Yikes.
What the completed system looks like, though, is where you can trace it. Now, remember, who did Putin invade in Obama's term?
Crimea.
But he also invaded Georgia.
Georgia.
Before Crimea.
That's right.
Starting in the mid-1990s, American and European money built all 5 capabilities inside Georgian civil society. USAID and the Eurasia Foundation funded Rustavi 2, an independent broadcaster that became the opposition's primary media outlet by 2003. The Liberty Institute, founded in 1996, drafted Georgia's freedom of speech legislation and ran anti-corruption campaigns. ISFED, founded in 1995 with USAID and NED money, trained 3,000 election observers and ran parallel vote tabulation across 10 Georgian elections. NED spent $3 million on Otpor in Serbia, whose trainers then came to Georgia, funded by Open Society, facilitated by Liberty Institute, and trained a student group called Kamara. Same playbook, same clenched fist logo, different country, and organizations like IDFI monitored government procurement, generating the data everybody else used. Open Society's own Georgia staff described the scale in a video. We have been out here helping every startup in Georgia, almost every organization that came to us with new ideas. There were 16,000 projects supported by the foundation. Read it again, 16,000 projects in a country of 3.7 million people. Then in November of 2003, all 5 fired at once. ISFED's parallel vote count proved the paramilitary election was fraudulent. Rustavi 2 broadcast the evidence. Kamara filled the streets. Liberty Institute provided the organizational backbone, and 3 weeks later, President Shevardnadze resigned in the Rose Revolution. The activation was emergent. Every node in the network activated and performed its designed functions simultaneously. And after the revolution, Liberty Institute members entered the Georgian government, Bokaria to the National Security Council, Sabaria as public defender, Tragamadze to the Defense and Security Committee, Vard Delashavi as Deputy Justice Minister, and it goes on and on. The organizations didn't just support a transition, they staffed the new government. USAspending.gov shows over $1 billion in USAID awards to Georgia from 2008 to 2025. The contract descriptions spell it out. SEPs received $26 million, and it goes on. 20 years later, the Georgian government proposed a law requiring NGOs to disclose their foreign funding. Think about that. 20 years later, the Georgian government knows they were infiltrated, and now they want to disclose the foreign funding. The same network activated foreign-funded NGOs, sustained protests across multiple waves, hundreds of thousands in the streets. Former U.S. Ambassador Ian Kelly explained the dependency on camera. He said, quote, "The civil society is the absolute beating heart of the Georgian democracy. It relies quite a bit on the EU and U.S. funding." The Georgian government's response was blunt. Foreign-funded NGOs organized the 2003 color revolution, and the same infrastructure activated again when the government tried to make them disclose who was paying. If this is starting to sound familiar, good, it should. And then you look at the United States, and Data Republican has this dead to rights. All of these 5 things, and you can look at the organizations. But then you get back to Latin America. 7 right-wing candidates won in Latin America after the funding stopped. The infrastructure that had been cultivated for decades began to weaken because its primary source of capital disappeared. The newspapers survived only if they could find new donors. The NGOs shrank. That is what people misunderstand when they argue about whether USAID funded transgender operas, journalism workshops, anti-corruption databases, youth leadership programs, or election observers. Those were never the point. The point was the network. A grant to a newspaper, not a newspaper. A grant to an activist group is not a grant to an activist group. A grant to an election monitoring organization is not an election monitoring organization. Fund enough of them for long enough and connect them with one another, and you basically have a political revolution that's well-funded and ready to go and sustained. So really good stuff. This is why we see major nationwide protests every month as long as President Trump is in office. This is why the United States government needs to go after whatever remnant of these NGOs that are still existing in America. And before you do mass deportations, before we attempted mass deportations or whatever, we should have gone after these people first so that they cannot pay people to be out on the streets, like Renee Good or that Petty guy, Preddy. What was his first name? I can't remember, but pretty wild stuff. I mean, you know, you just kind of you sit here and think like all of this stuff gets turned back on if Democrats win.
Yeah, that's right.
All of it gets flipped back on.
Yes,
and then we get told that this is all organic. These organic uprisings. That's what we're going to be told. It all gets turned back on.
Yep.
If they win again. But it does kind of make you think. Like, I mean, you know, I'm the more pessimistic one than you are when it comes to results.
Yeah.
It does really make you think what a huge move that was with USAID. I mean, it was right off the bat. It was in that first 5 months. And by the way, that first 5 months was killer. And then there was the Trump-Elon Musk divorce, and things started getting really kind of bogged down at that point.
Yeah, but as frustrating as it gets, when we start thinking about the midterms, like, we do have to remember that the Democratic playbook has not changed. In fact, it's even gone a little bit further extreme than it was before.
Yes.
So Republicans added millions and millions of voters to their tallies. Whether they show up in the midterms to vote or not, I don't know. I just know that the ones that have said, I'm sick of this, I'm not necessarily with the GOP anymore because of what's going on, they're also like, but I'm definitely not on board with the Democrats either. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you made that point about the midterms because, to your point too, and then 2028, if they get control again, if the Dems get control again, all this progress and all of this rooting out of evil and fraud and malicious abuse of our taxpayer dollars and our culture for our children, it all goes back.
Yep, it sure does. But here's some positive news. Look about this. The 8 members, but see, we need the funders, but this is good. This is good. 8 members of an Antifa cell that attacked an ICE facility in Texas were sentenced to a total of 450 years today on terror charges. You know, wasn't there that whole Leonardo DiCaprio movie where they were a modern, you know, they were basically a terror cell and they basically attacked an Antifa camp or an ICE camp, an ICE facility? It was a recent movie last year. It came out last year. I think it won an Academy Award or whatever. You know, but you don't hear anybody making the parallel that this could have inspired that. But anyway, 8 members of Antifa cell that attacked ICE facility in Texas sentenced to 450 years in total on terror charges. You got Benjamin getting 100 years, 70 years, 50 years, 50, 50, 50, 50, 30, Daniel Sanchez. The militant far-left Antifa extremists were sentenced for their roles in an armed attack and a riot at the Prairie Land ICE Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas last July. The group rioted outside the facility, vandalized property, used fireworks, and shot officers to stop deportations. Now, you would think any one of these people, any one of these now convicts, would have a lot of information about who inspired them to show up there. And I know I was just saying it was a Hollywood movie. I was just kind of being more like that's what they would do to us.
Yeah.
But you would think that the government would even know, like, hey, we know who was paying these people.
Yeah. Have
you arrested the billionaires that are funding this stuff? Have you arrested the nonprofit presidents that are funding this kind of nonsense? Because you should. You should do that. Stop this happening permanently. And maybe that is going on, and we're just not hearing about it. Here's a headline that is absolutely the craziest headline you will see all year. This is the craziest headline you will see all year. It's a tragedy up in Canada where some guy decided to shoot up the headquarters of Pornhub, which, I mean, anytime people get killed is terrible, right? But so Pornhub headquarters is in Canada. Listen to this headline.
Is this just like a website?
It's a pornography website.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm legitimately unfamiliar.
Good on you. Good on you.
I apologize.
No, good on you. So yeah, it's like the #1 porn website in the whole world,
oh my
right?
Goodness. Okay.
And so anyway, so not the Bee, which is the Babylon Bee's actual, Babylon Bee satire. So not the Bee's a satire. They have this headline: report: female cop shoots rabbi outside Pornhub office in Canada while hiding from Marxist gunman who killed immigrant officer named Mohammed. Now, what kind of a headline is that? What kind of a headline is that? It can't. You just look at it, you're like, this can't be real. But then I watched the footage, and sure enough, there's some gunman that's shooting up Pornhub, and there's a rabbi nearby. Now, he wasn't obviously in like a rabbi, traditional rabbi garb, but I think the owner of Pornhub actually is Jewish and a rabbi. By the way, this is like a thing that a lot of people have pointed out. The guy that owns OnlyFans.
So just to be clear, it's not when you say hub. When you said that earlier, I was like, so this is like the base of operations, or you're saying that's a website called that?
Yes, it's a website called that.
Okay, and you're saying that the Jews own it?
Well, one does, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and OnlyFans.
I have heard
the Jewish owner of OnlyFans. I think recently passed away.
Yeah, I've heard the OnlyFans owner.
But yeah, apparently it's not a conflict. I don't know. Porn has done more to destroy marriages, families, lives of men. A lot of these Zoomers, that are not getting outside and going to parties and actually meeting women in the flesh and blood, they don't have a need to because they're just turning. There's literally pornography is everywhere, right? And it's very much a drug. It's like one of the most powerful drugs there is, and it needs to be banned. Like that's the one thing in that project in the Heritage Foundation.
You're welcome, feminists.
In that,
feminist movement.
In that Project 2025 that was written by the Heritage Foundation, one of the things they had in there was to ban pornography, and I 100% support it. Which is why, I want a T-shirt that says "Banning things is good sometimes" because, it's just. it's a scourge, and it needs to go. Just in the name of human flourishing and family development, we wonder why marriage rates are at all-time lows. We wonder why birth rates are all-time lows. The government should restrain this wickedness, in my opinion. But anyway, so female cop shoots rabbi outside Pornhub office in Canada while hiding from Marxist gunmen who killed immigrant officers. So what happened was, Eric, let's see if we have a video. I'm not going to show the video because the one I saw was downright bloody. Because an officer was killed. So one officer was killed, but the female officer, there was a female police officer that was ducking for cover. And then the rabbi goes to duck for cover with the police officer, but the police officer thinks that the rabbi is the gunman and just immediately shoots him. And I don't know if he survived yet.
Oh, my.
A female officer appears to have shot a civilian who spooked her while she was taking cover during an active shooting. That man has been named as a Jewish rabbi named Michael Moshe Mizrahi, part of the Chabad movement. Canadian outlet La Presse reports that the female cop did indeed shoot him. Michael Mizrahi, a 68-year-old trader, finds himself in the line of fire as he goes to buy a drink near his clothing store on Devonshire Road. In the same video, we see the man appear behind the policewoman arriving from the side from which the suspect is shooting. In the chaos, the agent shoots the 60-year-old dead. Sources close to the investigation confirmed to us that it was indeed the patrolwoman who fired.
Jeez.
What did we know at the time is that the shooting took place outside the corporate office of Pornhub's parent company, ILO, formerly MindGeek, which owns the largest porn sites on the internet. The shooter, an Alberta man named Seth Hatfield, reportedly fired in the ILO building from his hotel across the street. He then made his way down into the street where he appeared to ignore civilians but engaged officers in the firefight. These are the few quotes from Hatfield's manifesto. He says, the influence of Zionist Jews upon the Western bourgeoisie is in fact so strong that in my other works I sometimes refer to the Western ruling class itself as the Judeo-bourgeoisie class. The visiting of pornographic websites contributes greatly to the bourgeoisie's wealth, and the industry as a whole is one of the most repulsive and malignant enemies. End quote. By the way, just a little disclaimer, just because I was just saying, like, yeah, we should ban porn, it doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with this guy's manifesto. Okay.
Right.
All right. On page 86 of his manifesto.
We should ban it. You don't want to shoot up the place.
Right.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that
well,
to the audience. They were a little worried about you, Paul.
Porn can still be bad and needs to be banned, and at the same time, don't go kill cops.
Right.
All right. On page 86 of his manifesto, these psychos are always long-winded. He specifically lists viable targets for political violence. So anyway, that's the context of what happened. But the female officer did shoot the guy on accident. Shot a bystander on accident. So anyway, you know what? Make of that what you will. I'm not gonna go. I mean, I have no idea what I might do in that situation. You know.
Well.
But I'll be getting it. I'm not trained.
Being startled doesn't give you an excuse to kill somebody.
You're exactly right, Eric.
Sorry.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Especially when you
should be better trained.
It's your job to understand what to do when bullets are being fired in your direction, and because you're a police officer, you literally signed up for this. I actually feel the same way about this that I do about these cops. It's not as bad, but I feel the same way about these cops that are afraid of dogs and keep killing people's dogs for dogs doing what dogs do, which is bark and investigate people who are on their territory. Yeah, unless you're dealing with like an attack dog, like a pit bull, okay, maybe I could understand or something. But you're killing golden doodles.
Yeah, right.
I mean, come on. I just don't understand.
Just for barking.
I don't understand cops that are that like you signed up to potentially get shot at, man.
Yeah.
And you're afraid of a dog? I'm not afraid of dogs. Anyway, maybe multiple dogs. Like if I had multiple dogs, but I'm pretty sure any dog I could take on if head to head. I really do. I really think I could. I could sustain the bite and just obliterate them. You know, it's different if you're running for the cops and all of a sudden you've got a 90-pound German Shepherd that, you know, has this bite strength that will not let go, and you're sitting there running and running for the cops, and then all of a sudden you have an extra 90 pounds attached to the right side of your body. You're going down, buddy. You know what I mean? Like, whoa. But, I mean, in terms of just like a one-on-one, I'm not running from anybody. I just don't understand these police officers that are scared of dogs. I really don't. It's crazy. Let's see here. What else do we have? So we've got this. They're talking about this. Who is this? This is Robert.
So let me get this
Jenrick.
straight. The government.
Hang on one second. This is Robert Jenrick. I don't know who this is. He is somebody. He's Reform UK. So this is a guy who's part of the Reform UK party, and he's upset with what they're doing with freedom of what is this? Social media, and basically just like monitoring what you're posting.
So let me get this straight. The government is planning to decide either a minister or, even worse, unaccountable civil servants, which news providers are deemed trustworthy and which ones are deemed untrustworthy. And then the government or unaccountable civil servants and quangos are going to give priority to the services which it deems to be trustworthy and reduce the prominence of those that they don't like and they consider to be untrustworthy. This sounds quite dystopian to me. How can this be seen as anything other than a very serious attack on freedom of the press and freedom of speech?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to take any lessons from him and his disgusting party with the way that they spread mis and disinformation. What I would say to him is that this House has already come together to define what public service media is in law. That is a definition that was passed by Parliament, and I don't recall there being a lot of concern about that. It's something that has been enormously beneficial. One of the ways that we could define trusted news is to follow that definition, but we could also, for example, align with the editor's code. There are lots of different options for doing this, but to somehow claim that this is about the government controlling what people see is just absolute nonsense.
So apparently they're just like our liberals are over here, where they're just like, I don't have to.
Nothing to see here.
And the idea that I would have to answer a question from that disgusting party. You know what? People like that, ladies like that, better pray that those Belfast protests don't spread into Europe and they don't start burning her house down. Because I'm telling you, if you don't start listening to the people, and but they're not going to abandon. People like that are not going to just change or abandon DEI. They're not.
Yeah.
And if you try to organize with your speech politically, they will arrest you. And so again, I still maintain that the only way England and Britain are saved is some sort of organized revolution, and I know how crazy that sounds, but I mean, what can you do?
Britain is probably too far gone, brother.
Yeah.
Like, and for this guy to stand up and be like, is this real? He's basically like the little kid. Is this real life? Is this real life? And then, you know, idiots like her stand up and like, sit down. You know, you're disgusting.
You're disgusting, mate.
Yeah. We'll make the decisions around here.
All right, Mike. Get to stepping.
So one of my favorite things to watch right now is these Brits and Australians and Europeans that have come over to America for the World Cup and get on IG and TikTok and whatever and make videos about how much they enjoy America.
Yeah.
Right now. It's literally like one of my favorite things.
It's the biggest white pill that I've seen all year.
It's so awesome. So every time I get down about certain things and get frustrated, I just watch some of these recent videos of these guys. I mean,
it's amazing.
This guy yesterday I watched, he's like, you know, all my friends told me when I came over here that I would hate it. And he goes, I took my son. We walked into this. We're at home, we don't go to normal, expensive restaurants, but we walked into a place called Texas Roadhouse. And we walk in and they go, here's a bag of peanuts. You can just eat as many as you want. And he goes, and then if you run out, you just get more. And then they sit us at this table and they bring us this bread. And I said, man, we didn't order any bread. And she goes, oh, no. it's free. And if you run out, we'll bring you more. It's like, we have unlimited sodas. And my son gets these unlimited sodas, and they have steaks and chicken and ribs. And he's like, these are the nicest people in the world. He's talking about the waitstaff at the Texas Roadhouse. And he's like, all these people in Australia are like, man, over there you have to tip. And he's like, I want to tip. These are the greatest people in the world. And they soak an onion in
Yes, I
grease.
saw that one.
It's a fried onion. We dip it in this sauce. Like watching this, I just had this biggest smile on my face, and it's so good watching it because they really are enjoying themselves. And I see stuff like this from the British Parliament going on, and the Keir Starmer and all the stuff that's going on over there, and it's like, I don't think they can put the genie back in the bottle.
I know.
They have been fully invaded and taken over in a lot of ways. And there are Brits that are relating back to these food videos where they're like, we can't walk around like this in our country like you can here. Like, I'm walking around in the streets of America and where I'm going to this football match, soccer, and you can't do that. You better know where you're going. You better get there fast and not look any direction, or whatever. Like, you can't do that over there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Sad.
Yeah, it could be a potential test case in terms of like a first world country in a modern context trying to overthrow their government. When the government won't listen.
Yeah.
How does that work in the age of drones and mass surveillance? You know what I'm saying?
I know the EU just did the big vote about send them home or get them out.
Is it even possible to do?
It's too late, dude.
Yeah, is it even possible to do?
I don't know.
I don't think it is. Folks, it's now time for my favorite segment. Haven't done this in a while.
And let us confess our faith today in the words of the Sparkle Creed. I believe in the non-binary God.
And now it's time for I'm Already Against Women Clergy. You don't have to convince me.
All right, so for this edition of I'm Already Against Women Clergy, you don't have to convince me, it comes once again from the website Protestia. Pastor Jeremiah Thomas of the Gospel Church makes things awkward while rebuking his congregation and other churches who have a problem with his co-pastor wife preaching, saying Jesus would rebuke you. Do you think he really believes that his wife can preach? If he did, do you think he would sound so insecure about it?
Okay. And look, if I made you mad just by saying all that and you don't want to come back here, bye.
I'm going to have my husband come forward and close this morning.
That was some of the best teaching I've heard in a long time.
Not everybody clapped.
And now let me rebuke some of you, because some of you are probably sitting here
Some of you
thinking, let
didn't
women
clap.
be silent in the church. You don't have to raise your hand, but I know that some of you are thinking it. And I think if Jesus were standing in this room, he would rebuke you for it.
Oh, jeez.
That was amazing. And so true. I mean, because we can all come to church and pretend and put our halos on and act like we know all this and that, and we got scripture memorized and whatever. And then if we can't walk in love, if we can't forgive, if we can't
memorizing scripture,
love God first, then what? It's not even real. It's not even real Christianity. So great, you got your scripture. Paul said, let women be silent in the church. Well, I'm going to preach a sermon here coming up soon. I'm stewing on it, but it's going to be a whole sermon on the context of what that scripture meant. And are women actually allowed to minister? Because some people grew up in church where that's forbidden. That's not allowed. Women had to wear no makeup, hair in a bun, long skirt, had to be quiet and somber. And I've been in those churches, and they're more like a funeral than a church service. And if y'all want to go to a funeral on Sunday morning, go for it, but you're not going to find one here at the Gospel. Okay? That was awesome.
That was awesome, honey.
Thanks, Mr. Mackey.
Yeah, right. Yeah, women are allowed to be missionaries. They're allowed to teach Sunday school.
Anyway, I feel like that speech that you give to your congregation, you maybe give to them or preach the sermon on why you believe it before you give your wife a pulpit on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe that would be a better time, not afterwards. You get up there and you know, people clap for it, but it wasn't a lot of, it wasn't a loud clap, and you're kind of wondering, like, and it just seems like this dude knows he's wrong.
Okay.
This guy knows he's wrong.
Okay, Steven, like, you're not pricking the hearts of these folks because your wife, like, in some noble defense of your wife who just gave some
It's so beta, right? Like, the guy is so beta. Thanks,
is.
honey. That's some of the best preaching I've heard in a long time.
Yeah.
And if
I'm sure he got some when he got home.
Yeah, I'm about to say,
because
like,
he was getting scoring some points so that she'd hop in the sack with him later.
Yeah. Tell me my sermon was good. Oh my goodness. So yeah.
Oh honey, didn't I stand up for you so well? Aren't I just such a stud?
Yeah. I've been telling you, man. It's like, it's a terrible idea.
Sorry.
I mean, in general, yes. I don't believe women should hold official church office, you know, the office of elder or pastor or deacon. I think that's clear in the scriptures. That's the way I read the Bible. But even if you are going to do it, I feel like co-pastoring with your wife has got to be the worst recipe in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Terrible recipe for any sort of accountability at all, because you know they're sleeping in the same bed together, right? They're going to take each other's sides, you know, when it comes to outsiders.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Jim and Pam made it work on The Office, but there's pretty much like
but
no other time where a couple should work that closely together.
And they weren't leading the church.
Yeah, they were selling paper.
So that's a big difference.
They were selling paper.
Anyway, that's been my favorite segment.
This has been I'm Already Against Women Clergy. You don't have to convince me.
All right. Yep. And by the way, that's the evidence.
I'm going to rebuke you all now.
Yeah.
You have to buffer your rebuke as I'm going to rebuke you now. Brace yourselves.
Yeah.
Like, God.
It's terrible. Protesty is a great follow, though. If you guys ever want to follow a website that kind of keeps you up to date with what's going on in the Protestant world, especially they love to call out, you know, kind of crazy women pastors. A lot of times it's way more overt, you know, like, you know, some trans person or somebody wearing like a LGBTQ, you know, flag dress or something. But then there's these moments where they can get into the minutia of how and by the way, that is turning stuff like that is turning so many men away that are recognizing the evils of our country and want to do something about it, and are called, thinking that they're, you know, called to repentance and faith in Christ, and are now looking for a church to stand and protest against the world. So, you know, and stuff like that is like those. I really think those kind of that church in that context among Protestants is actually diminishing, and it certainly will in the next 10 years. Eric, I appreciate it, sir. Thanks so much for being on the show. Can't do without you.
God bless y'all. Great conversation today.
Want to give a shout out to our sponsors: Red Vive Health, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, Pet Club 24/7, and Shared Chiropractic. God bless everybody out there watching, and we'll have a best of show tomorrow, and we'll get ready for the 4th of July next week. We'll see you soon.